Hello, and welcome to Tell Me About Your Game, the show where we talk with new independent designers of board and tabletop games to give them the exposure they deserve. Today, our guest is Jake Knipper, the designer of NEXUS and Arcology Directive. Jake, welcome to Tell Me About Your Game.
Hello. How's it going?
It's good, and thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So let's just dive right in.
Right into the.
Tell me about your game. I've
Tell
never
me.
seen it before. What is the elevator pitch?
The elevator pitch for Nexus is: what if you got to roll dice to make your own domino in a domino laying sort of game? That was kind of the original conceit of it, and I kind of took it from there to the point where it is now, which is you are a city designer, city planner. You're rolling and drafting dice, collecting 2 of them, turning them into a little domino, coloring them in onto your hexagonal board and out from the city center. And then you have these cool transparent tiles that you have to lay over it to score points all over 12 rounds. And whoever is the best at that at the end of the 12 rounds wins.
So when you say coloring it, is this sort of roll and
color,
write or a roll and
literally
color?
roll and color, roll and write, kind of in the vein of cartographers. The 2 kind of really big influences were cartographers and King Domino. And I was kind of like, what if you smushed those together and there was dice rolling? And that was about 2 years ago. And I kind of had that idea while I was at a con and took it home and started working on it over the weekend. And I think I had my friends over like the weekend after or 2 weeks after. And I was like, okay, guys, I've got a game. We're going to try it. And I had like gotten dice from Amazon and put like stickers on them with different colors. And I just like printed out cards as like playing cards, basically size things, and cut them all up and was like, we're going to play this. It's going to be fun. And everyone was like, this is weird. But that was it. It was weird enough that it was different and worked enough that I was like, okay, I can do something with this. I can make this work.
That's pretty good for only a week, I have to say.
Right. It was one of those things where I was like, okay, the kernel is here. It's a long road of doing things, but it worked. Thankfully. There were many hiccups along the way of things that needed to change. there always are.
I don't think I've talked to anyone yet where they said, oh yes, it went completely smoothly from start to finish and we had no problems whatsoever.
No, although I will say the amazing thing is while a lot of small little nitty gritty things had to change, the overall conceit of the game has basically been exactly the same since day one, which is like you roll the dice, you make a domino. There's a grid that's 7 by 7. That the entire outside of the grid is a no zone, but you can go there and just lose points. And all of that has all stayed the same throughout. And it's just been smoothing off rough edges has been basically the rest of it.
So you said you had the idea to con. What was the inspiration for this? What led you to decide to
so
make
this was actually really funny. I went to the company Unpub. They have little mini game jams at cons sometimes. So it was Origins 2 years ago. I went to a game jam there, and I don't know if anyone has ever done one of those little mini game jams. It's like a 2-hour session. You get broken into groups of like 5 or 6 people. And then they roll a couple big dice and they're like, okay, you have to include this. You can't include that. Here's your theme. Go. Like, restrictions breed creativity. Make a game. And there's going to be 8 different games with all the same restrictions. And we'll get to see how that works. And I can't remember exactly what we had to use and what we couldn't use, but like we had to use both dice and dominoes. But then we couldn't use something else. I can't even remember. And I was like, well, what if we just, the 2 things we have to do, what if we just put them together, guys? We just have to roll the dice, and then that made a domino. And then we just did that. And everyone was like, that's a stupid idea. And I was like, Yes, very
That's the
stupid
kind of support you
idea.
look for
Okay,
in
I'm gonna
these.
go now. So I just jotted it down, and then on the plane ride home, I started just taking notes on my phone, and literally like drew out hexagons and started coloring them in and being like, because I had been playing a lot of cartographers and a lot of King Domino around that time, and I was like, what if we smushed those together? The other one is at that con, I was I was demoing Maki Master, which is a game where there's like a central board that everyone is building off of, but everyone has a recipe card that they're holding on to. And once you get that recipe on this big central board, you can like lay it out and be like, look, I got it, everybody. And then you score it and put it off to the side. So I was like, okay, what if I took that kind of scoring mechanism and the coloring from cartographers and then the domino aspect from King Domino, and then I am a sucker for hex grids. I think they're far superior to every other grid system. Almost every game that I have has a hex grid. It's just my preferred locomotive thinking space. So slap it all on a hex grid, see what happens, and voila.
So, who's the audience for this game? Who did you design it for? Other than yourself?
Myself, basically. No, there's a couple things that I really wanted to hone in on from the start. The number one thing was I oftentimes am playing with 3 or 4 people, have, like a solid group of people, but I also oftentimes it's just me and my wife, and I want to play a game, and it be a 20-minute game, and we use our brains and we think a bit, and we go, oh, you got me this time, and then you pull it out after dinner next time. So it was really important to me from the beginning that it worked really well at 2 to 4 players. Okay, that gotta make sure that, because there's so many games that work great at 4, and then you played it 2 and they're like, oh yeah, they kind of tacked this on, huh? Right? Yeah. So that was number one. Number two was just like the people who do love that kind of puzzle game, like King Domino and cartographers, of okay, we're gonna sit down, my brain and your brain are gonna tussle for not very long, for 30 minutes, and we're going to come out the other side of that, and we will have an answer to who tonight had the best brain, who had the best luck, who could, manipulate the other person, hate draft against the other person the best, and come out on top. It's another kind of important thing for me, is I like games with what I prefer, the right amount of randomness, which is, to everybody going to be different. And the right amount of interaction with your other players. I like a game that has a little bit of interaction, but not like I'm going to mess up your whole game. But I don't want to be playing solitaire and you're playing solitaire, and at the end of 30 minutes, after we're all looking down, go, okay, I got 125 points. How many points do you have? Like, I want there to be a little bit of table talk, a little bit of interaction with somebody. So I was like, okay, I'm pulling in all these things, a little bit of interaction, fast game, can play good at 2 and 4. So I'm like pulling in all of these different things and kind of just smushing it all together and trying to make it all work, which led to a couple of the changes. Meaning the die right now, they have, you can see there's some sides that are kind of like, it's kind of like the, what's it called? The wingspan dice, where some sides have 1 and some sides have 2, kind of hybrid. Originally they all had 1, and that actually worked at 4 players. So the first like 3 or 4 times we played with 4 players. And then finally I played just against my wife one night, and the game just didn't work at all. It was just like, oh, this game doesn't work at 2 players. That's so interesting. And she was like, you gotta make at least some of these sides hybrid. So for a while they were all hybrid, and then the game was too easy for a very long time. And then I found a good middle ground and had to mess with exactly what the percentages of dice and how many yellows were on. That's why I end up having 2 different colors. Actually, there's there we go. There's a light gray and a white dice. So depending on how many players, you just grab one of each color for each player. You make the pool, and then you roll. And when people are drafting, they can draft 2 whites or 2 grays or a white and a gray. That doesn't matter, but they have slightly different choices on them that you're going to have to be making. So, and I've lost my train of thought now.
That's okay.
I went down the deep end.
You're doing a great job of answering my questions before I ask them. So I can skip question 4. I can skip question 5. We're being very efficient today. It's
efficiency. Great. That's the name of the game in Nexus.
Yeah. So I think you've answered this question, but I want to give you a chance to expand on it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, I know when I've designed my games, there are certain core concepts that are just non-negotiable. Like, I think about the first game that I designed through to the end, which started out as a deck builder and it ended up being a semi-abstract card-driven board game.
Right.
But there were core principles that stayed from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any of those core principles for Nexus that you just they had to be present no matter what?
Well, there's a couple, and this is funny. Number one was it was envisioned as a roll and write, and it comes with 8 dice because you have 4 people playing, and I wanted this sensation. Everyone listen. I don't know if that came through on the mic, but I wanted to be some people to like pick up a giant chunk of dice and then roll them and then draft them. And I've had some people who play tested it being like, like this is going to be crazy expensive to do. You're doing like custom dice. What if you just did cards? Or what if people were like drawing tiles out of a bag? And I'm like, yeah, you could make that game, but it wouldn't be this game. Like that is core to the experience. At least for me, there's something about picking up 8 dice that are kind of chunky dice and just shaking the crap out of them and then rolling them and being like, okay, what did I get? As opposed to being like, okay, let me draw 2 cards. Ooh, it's like, it's not the same.
No judgment there.
Yeah, maybe I could make the game be like $15 instead of $30 or whatever. It's like, I don't care. Like, I want that experience. So that was kind of like number one. It's like, it's a roll and color. Like that's what I want it to be. And then the other one kind of came about by happenstance. And once it became central to the game, I was like, yeah, that can't change at all. So that is to say, these transparent cards, they used to just be a playing card with this shape on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd draw them and you'd hold them in your hand, and then you'd have to kind of be like, does this match? I can't tell. And I had one, like the very first playtest, one of my good friends was like, hey, you should just make the cards hexagons. Like, cards can be any shape, they don't have to be square. I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. I can just make them hexagons, make them the same size, and you just like kind of put it over and be like, yeah, and you like flip it back and forth. Yeah, that matches. Easy peasy. And then a couple of weeks later, I played it again. I had like cut out kind of hexagonal cards and it was like, yeah, these look really great. I love this. This is way easier to play. And I was playing with my brothers at summer vacation. And one of my brothers was like, you can just make these clear, right? And I was like, yeah, they need to be clear. Of course they need to be clear. That's so, of course. And that kind of like, it was like the final puzzle piece falling into line of being like, okay, now this can be an actual game. Because before that, like half of the game was just figuring out, did I score or not? Right. And it was too hard for so many people to play. Like I played with a lot of people who were less spatially gifted.
That would be me.
and they would just be like, I cannot play this game. Like, this game is impossible for me to play. And I was like, no, it's easy. You just like go like this. It's fine. Like, and then once they're clear, my rate of people understanding the game skyrocketed that I was playtesting. All of a sudden people were like, oh yeah, I get this. This is easy. I was like, okay, cool. And those are really the only two things that I was like really, really solid on. Like, okay, these make the game basically. Being able to just do that and very easily see, did I score this pattern? Done, and roll and write.
I mean, I can definitely appreciate that. You know, I was known for the longest time as someone amongst my group as who absolutely hated dice games.
Hmm.
Uh, and then I came to realize it's just that the games I had been playing with dice were very poorly implemented.
Right,
Um,
right. And that's
but
the thing is like if it's just dice and it's just random, I'm kind of out honestly too, where I'm just uh, like
right,
we're just rolling. Why are we rolling 8 dice? We could just each roll 1 die and whoever gets the highest wins. Done. All right,
yeah,
let's go play a real game. Um, but that was part of the design process of this, of being like, okay, like I wanted people rolling a dice to get a domino, do the thing. Okay, I'm like, all right, how am I going to make people interact? It's like, okay, what if each person got a turn and they rolled all the dice and then you had to do a snake draft? Ooh, snake drafts are cool. Those are interesting. We love those. I love drafting games. I love Sushi Go and those sorts of games I love Magic the Gathering drafts where you're passing all around. Oh my, what am I going to get when it wheels on me? Oh, cool, that's interesting. And it added this really interesting thing where like there are a variety of colors. There's 6 colors, and they represent 6 districts, types of sectors that you have. But there are different quantities of those. So residential, very easy to draft. But things like forests or the giant GPU crypto mining towers are very hard to draft. And so if you really need them for your pattern, you really want to be the first person rolling and you nab that. Oh yeah, I really need that forest to complete my pattern. But then it goes out and comes back and you're like, oh crap. I got residential. I can't do anything with a residential. You're like, oh shit. And so just making those kind of peaks and valleys for the player experience of like, I've had, it's so funny, when it's the most common adage among designers is like playtesters are really great at finding problems, but bad at finding solutions. The amount
yes.
of times that I have heard people be like, I just wish there was like one more dice, or like, it was easier. And I'm like, no, like you're not understanding the game.
Yeah.
It is quintessential that there is not an extra dice. Like
Yeah,
that you
often
get.
their answers are ways that would make it easier for them to win in their current situation.
Right. They're like, if I could just win the game, that would be awesome. You're like, yeah, it would
Yes.
be awesome. Then maybe you should have made better choices. I don't know. Like,
All right, so I think you've talked about you kind of glossed over some of the rules. I think it's time to dive in and actually take a look at what the game looks like. So the
yes,
first thing we have is the actual player
yes.
board,
So
what
this is
people are coloring on.
the player board that you get. It's just a piece of paper that you'll get handed at the beginning of the game. You will notice 7x7 grid. There's the center. That's the central administrative hub. So that is wild for placement next to it, but you can't use it for scoring. And you will notice there are 12 rounds in the game. You're hypothetically coloring 2 every single turn, and there are 24 non-scary looking hexagons. So if you play a perfect game, you don't lose any extra points. It's hard to do that. It's not advisable, honestly, to do that. That outer rim is called the exclusion zone. So you can color in those areas and go into those areas. But at the end of the game, each hex that is colored in within that exclusion zone is worth -1 points. So oftentimes, if you have to go 1 or even 2 in there to score a 9-point blueprint, okay, I'm only getting 7 points for this instead of 9, but it only took me coloring 2 in because I was able to draft the stuff a little bit well. Ooh, yeah, that was worth it. Perfect.
Okay, so then we'll look at what do you want to look at what we score then?
Yes, the blueprints. So I've been holding up some of these. This is a little bit nicer of a way of looking at it. So there are 6 colors, like I said before. There are residential, which is the red. There's commercial, which is the yellow. There are not commercial, corporate, which is yellow. Commercial is purple. Rivers, water, hydro is the blue. There's forests, which are green, and then hex coins, which are giant GPU crypto mining towers. That definitely won't be happening at any point in time in the near future, right? Definitely not. But there are also then, so those are the 6 colors that you could have on these little grids that you're going to be overlaying on your board. There are also, I should have pointed out to you, Jeff, this was my mea culpa. I looked at this and was like, this is a great graphic, and then realized I should have said there are some, about 2/3 of them are just a single color, so it'd be like 3 red, and then about 1/3 of them are dual colored, and the dual colored ones tend to be harder to do, but also worth a little bit of extra points.
Okay.
So when you're setting up the game, you automatically just get given 3 blueprints, and then there's a market of 3 blueprints in the center, and then a big old stack next to the market. So once you score, or if you pass initiative, the initiative is who is doing the rolling. You can draw new ones from the market. So there's a little bit of like, okay, do I draw like a bunch of just like easy red ones and just get them out as fast as possible? But they're only going to be worth 3 or 4 points each. Or do I try and go for some of the more complicated ones? Maybe they're a little harder to get the drafting for, but each of them is going to be worth like 8 or 9 points. Ooh, okay, so I really, I have to actually complete maybe half as many as my opponent, but it's going to be a little trickier. It's going to be a little rougher, and it's going to be a little easier for my opponents to hate draft me, maybe.
So if I'm understanding correctly, if we're looking at the blueprint on the left with the 2 black and the 1 yellow.
Yes.
So they need to be arranged in some way, shape, or form by rotating that blueprint around. And can you flip the blueprint also?
That's the beauty of these, is you can flip them and you can rotate them to your heart's content. Sometimes that changes nothing, which is so discouraging when you're like, wait, nope, these are the same. Never mind. But sometimes you're like, what if I just, and it's that like Indiana Jones moment where you're like, oh, I could click, and you're like, yes, I can do it. It's perfect.
And I'm assuming also that the blank spaces on this blueprint can be other
anything.
things.
Right.
There can be things, and they don't have to be blank, obviously.
Right. And importantly, you are just using these as an overlay to be like, yes, I have this pattern. I scored it. You put it off to the side, which means you can reuse the colors. Right. So part of it becomes, okay, a game of what can I draft from the market that I can have 1 or 2 or even 3 of the hexes already filled in on my grid, where I only actually need to put down 1 extra hex, and it gets me 5 points.
Right.
Like, ooh, yeah. Like if I already had 1 of those grays and the yellow in the correct orientation, I can be like, okay, if I take this from the market, I only need to draft 1 gray and put it here. And if I can make that happen, and actually this flips, so if I can get a gray there, or if I can get a gray there, I can score 5 points. All right, there's 4 more rounds in the game. I'm drafting first the next one, and I'm drafting second the next one. Okay, yeah, I should be able to hopefully get a gray. But then all of a sudden, maybe someone passes initiative and like they mess up the order, and you're like, uh-oh, okay, now I'm going first, but I didn't get a gray. Now I'm going last, and oh no, a gray came up, but somebody else took the gray, and now I don't have my gray. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know that pain well in many of the games that I've played.
Right.
I've got someone I play with who every time we play, she takes what I need from the pool.
Yes, and I love playing that way, and my wife hates playing that way. She's so funny. She's just like, I'm just going to build my city. I'm not going to look at yours. I'm not going to try and mess you up. And me and my best friend, who's my co-designer on some of my other games, are constantly like, what you got over there? You're trying to get some yellows? That's interesting. That's okay. So I'm going to take this yellow, which is another benefit of the hybrid dice, is that sometimes you can hate draft somebody and also get something that you need, and it's not necessarily the same thing. Where maybe there's a red and a yellow and a red and a purple, a red/yellow and a red/purple out there, and you just need a red, and you're looking at your friend going, So you need a yellow, huh? I'll take the red yellow. You know, like, it doesn't matter to me if I take the red yellow or the red purple. I don't care. But I can mess you up by taking this, so I'm taking that for sure.
Yeah, so it falls upon one of those games where you can play head down and focus on your own stuff.
Right. If you really want to play head down, you totally can. If that's the sort of table that you've got, you just go and work on their own little puzzle. I mean, there is going to be some accidental hate drafting, which, you know, I think just adds to that, like, okay, we are all competing here. This is a competition game. There's some accidental hate drafting. It happens. Or if you're a game group like mine, you can very purposefully be hate drafting. You know, there are times where I'm just like, literally none of these dice help me. How can I mess with everybody else in the most ways possible? How many blueprints did you oh, you have like 6 completed over there and you've only got 2. Okay, let's mess with you.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's put all this together. Let's take a look at NEXUS.
Yeah, we can dive into, let me alt-tab into, oh my God, alt-tab in. So this is the TTS mod that I've been using where it's hard to color neatly in TTS. So I have hexagonal tiles.
Yeah.
But that's where, you know, if we were playing a 4-player game, you've got your 4 dice, four dice per color, 8 dice total. There we go. That's what I was looking for. And you would roll these, and then people would draft.
Zoom in a bit.
Yeah. So okay, you know, if I'm, you know, player 1, maybe I really want a red, or maybe I really want a yellow. This person maybe wants that. Okay, they take this, and this. Okay, now we're snake drafting. That goes here. This one goes all the way over here, and then the last person gets stuck with this blue. Maybe they wanted the blue, maybe they didn't want the blue. Who knows? But now I bring these back to the middle. The person who drafted these has a choice of doing, okay, I'm going to do a blue-yellow domino or a blue-red domino. That's what I have to put on my board.
Because and it has the colors of the dice.
Right. And it has to start at the very beginning. It has to start on that central administrative hub. So we can go over to, let me also do this so I can see what you see somewhere. Uh-oh. Oh no. There we go. Sorry.
That's all right.
This is what the wonderful world of editing is for, right?
Yep. Or I may leave that in just for fun now.
Right. Alrighty. You're that person now. Great. So if we take these, put them over here, we have this person who would then have to be like, all right, I'm gonna do a blue here and a red here. And oh yeah, you know, I'm working towards this blue maybe being kind of like here-ish. And then
they must be adjacent to each other because, as you said, you're creating your own dominoes.
Right. And then, you know, maybe I'm trying to, actually, they probably wouldn't have done that because this is going to want to go like that. So maybe they would have done this. And now I'm going to be able to put that there, and I'm going to be able to put that like there. Okay, cool. That's what I'm working towards. We got a plan. The next time that they roll for our own edification here, I'm just going to roll randomly. Okay, I've got a red and either a red or a green. We'll talk about that symbol in a second. Don't worry about that.
Okay, I won't.
They have to work out from this or the central administrative hub. So they could go, you know, red and then green. Awesome. Or maybe they really wanted some green over here. They could just work out from the hub. But they couldn't just be like...
the green here, they would be going into the exclusion zone and lose. Do you lose a point immediately or only when you score it?
It's at the end. All of the scoring is done at the end of the game. Okay. There are also, importantly, if you come over here, some end game scoring, because we love to make things a little bit more complicated. We can't just be scoring just... here. Can't be scoring just the... Oops. Excuse me. Just with the blueprints. There is some very handy dandy end game scoring. There are times when you are drafting where you won't be able to work towards any of your 3 blueprints. But you might be able to work towards some of these special end game scoring conditions and get another. Ooh, I got a point there, and I got a couple points there. I got 3 points there, and that just tips you over how many points the other person next to you got. So I'll read them out real quick. For residential, you get just chunks of 3. For each chunk of 3 or more that are separate from each other, so you want kind of distinct neighborhoods, you get 2 points. I have 3 different neighborhoods. For the corporate, whoever just has the most, they get 3 points. Everybody else gets nothing. So that's a very competitive 3 points. For the commercial sectors, you're trying to get pairs of red next to them, because who is going to shop if you don't have residential right next to the commercial? We want walkability here, people. For hydro, you're just trying to get one giant chunk of water. It can be a river, it can be a lake, it doesn't matter. Whatever your biggest chunk is, you get that many points. Easy peasy. Penultimately, we have forests, which will turn that -1 of an exclusion zone into a +1. So it's a dip of 2 points. You're reclaiming the exclusion zone for future generations, and you will be rewarded. And then we have the giant hex coin mining towers. Those just get you a point. That's it. They're just worth a point. Doesn't matter where they are, what they're doing. Capitalism. Yay.
Okay.
So that is kind of the gist of the game, is you're going to be having to figure out this dominoing. For instance, if I had gotten, let's say I drafted this and this here, I can't build off of a blue and I can't build off of a red. I've just got green and I've just got either purple or yellow. So I have to build off that central administrative hub. And maybe I don't want to, or, I've got these reds here. I could do a red and then a red, but maybe I have to do a blue and then a red so that I can get these reds here. I can't just put them there. I have to build off of my existing city to get stuff where it's going. So it becomes pretty intuitive and pretty second nature to people for most of the game, right up until they get to like round 9 or 10. All of a sudden people start cursing and they go, oh crap, I can't, I have to double. I can't do that, can I? You're like, yep, nope, you can't. You messed up. You gotta think more farther ahead next time. And that's, I love that part of the game of like, things really start to get very hairy at the last 2 or 3 rounds, and the board really starts to get congested, and it's really hard to fit. Can I get one more blueprint in? Can I score one more? Maybe I can do that. Oh yeah, okay. Maybe if I get rid of one of these and I pass initiative and I draft a new one, okay, I can get one more, and that was 3 more points, and I won by 1 point. Perfect. So in the meantime, that segues well into how I get more of these blueprints, because you are going to be dealt 3 at the beginning of your game, and once you score them, you just put them off to the side in a pile. You'll tally them up at the end of the game. So when you put one off to the side because you scored it, you get to pull one from this market. Okay, cool. Now, and you're always going to have 3 of them.
Okay.
So that's one way you can do it. Way number 2 is if it is your turn to roll, and you do not like the cards in your hand, you can say, I don't want to roll. You person to my left, you roll the dice. You get to choose first. I'll choose last. And I'm going to dump cards out of my hand into the discard pile, and I'm going to draw back up to 3. So that's another way you can get new blueprints.
Can you dump any number you want?
You can dump any number you want. Okay. You can just dump 1. You can dump all of them. And then the final way is there is this handy dandy side that looks like one of the blueprints. When you draft this, instead of coloring something in, you could just color in 1 hex and just take 1 from the center, and that puts you above your hand limit of 3. You just won't draw new ones until you go under 3. But you can yoink one from the market that other people might be eyeing, and that would be really easy for you to do. It's also sometimes helpful to just only be putting one hex down. If you've kind of put yourself into a corner where you're like, oh crap, I did this, and I would really love for there to be a purple here, but I can't place anything on the central administrative hub. I guess, okay, if I draft this, I can pull something from the market. Yeah, I want this, so there we go. Now I have 4 that I'm working towards, and also I can just take a purple and dump it there. Done. Perfect. Easy peasy. So sometimes it can be kind of a strategic option of I just want to put one, or I've sometimes put one like right next to the exclusion zone where I'm like, I don't want to go into the exclusion zone. The everything that I would have to put there would be like a red. It would lose me points. But if I do need something right next to the exclusion zone. So if I can just only put one thing down, that would be great.
Yeah, I definitely see. I enjoy games with diminishing possibilities as the game progresses, or increased constraints. Then you need to sort of plan ahead, or you
Oh yeah,
or
and
you paint yourself
there's
into a corner.
so very much
No
of
pun
that.
intended.
Well, and the fun thing for me is that you can plan ahead like a little bit. You know what cards you have in your hand, and you can see what's in the market. But there's enough variety in the blueprints that you can't just be like, oh, just plan for that blueprint, and then I'll draft that one. That one out of the 50, I'll just draft.
Yeah, it's
and then I'll
definitely not
score
perfect information.
Right. It's not you're like, oh, I mean, that's where. So there is a very specific, like I said earlier, there's kind of rarities to each of the colors where like there's a lot of red and there's a little bit less yellow and then a little bit less purple and then a lot less blue and then a lot less green and then not a lot of grays. So if you're just like, I'll just grab all the grays, they're worth crazy amounts of points. Awesome. He's like, that's not going to go great for you. Like, maybe 4 are going to come up in the entire game. You know, if you're really lucky, maybe 5 or 6 will come up. But it's going to be rough if you're trying to go for just those.
So, all right. So I think this gave us a really good overview of how the game flows. Where would you say Nexus is in terms of development? I know you said you just made some recent changes.
I mean, recent in the span of the game.
Okay, fair enough.
I just made some at not the very last minute. That sounds like I'm playing haphazardly. I rebalanced the dice slightly about 4 or 5 months ago, which was a big change because up to that point, they were a lot easier to score, and I was pretty consistently getting people who were like, I mean, yeah, I'm drafting dice, but I can pretty much do whatever the hell I want. There's not actually a lot of like pain there. And that was when I had hybrids on all of the sides. So about 4 or 5 months ago, I was like, okay, I think I do need to do it more like the like the wingspan dice, where only some of them are hybrid and some of them are just one color, and where it does hurt sometimes. You're like, oh crap, I got stuck with just a green and I don't need a green. There's not, oh, it's a green or it's a yellow. And I'm like, oh, great, I can use a yellow. It's like, no, it's blue. What are you going to do? You're like, uh-oh, I got stuck with the blue, or I guess I'll throw it over here. And that sometimes it's okay to have a little bit of friction. So that was the last kind of hurdle that I needed to do. Right now, I'm actually in the pre-launch phase, so I will make sure Jeff gets a link so that we can put it down below. You can kind of reserve your space on Kickstarter. You can put the $1 down and get a bonus couple blueprints that are super high scoring, which you should totally do. It's worth it. They're crazy points. But I'm in that phase, trying to collate basically a fan base, collate emails for people. I have my production test copy here. It exists. The game exists. It's real. So hypothetically, the hope is that I would be launching the actual Kickstarter sometime this fall. It's one of those things where you kind of have to wait to get enough emails where because of how Kickstarter and stuff works, you want to basically hit your goal on day one.
Right.
So you want to make sure you have enough emails of people and enough intent that you know that that's going to happen. So the hope had been that that would be in the beginning or middle of the summer, which you may notice it's currently the beginning or middle of the summer and it's not launched. So there was, you know, the advertising campaign. I made some snafus and some hiccups, and you know, this is my first time running that sort of campaign, and I am in by no means, way, shape, or form an advertising guru. So I made some hiccups here and there, but it's like, all right, I think I got my head back on straight. We made some changes here and there just to art or the ads or all of those things, and hoping to go forward with that. The exciting thing, so hopefully launching Kickstarter fall. Cool. The exciting thing, I'm not sure when this is going to go out for Jeff. Hypothetically, I'm assuming at some point in the next couple of days, a week or two. I don't know what your editing timeline looks like.
It'll be in about 2 weeks from when we're having this conversation. So
that'll be perfect.
Yeah.
2 weeks from this conversation means that
we're talking roughly the July 26th.
Which should mean, hypothetically, I don't know the exact timing of how they are going to be releasing the videos, but you should be able to, right now, go over to Shut Up and Sit Down and watch their Summer Games Fest. And NEXUS is one of the featured games for that. So,
oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah, so you can go and see what those guys think of the game also. I mean, finish this video first. You know, like and subscribe and do all of that here, and then go watch the Shut Up and Sit Down guys. No, that was a really big get. About 2 or 3 months ago, they put out a call because I had sent them. Actually, I had sent Danny Stranding an email being like, "Hey, you know, do you want to do a TikTok for me?" Blah 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 blah. And she just never gotten back to me. You know, people busy. No hard feelings or anything. But it got me on their mailing list. And then they sent out an email like, hey, we're doing this Summer Games Fest thing. If you're an indie designer and you'd like us to look at your stuff, send it to us. And we'll look at them all and we'll get back to you. And like a week later, I got an email and they're like, we would love to do your game. And I was like, oh my God. I like jumped out of I was like laying in bed. I like woke up in the morning, like hopped out of my bed. I was like, oh my God. So exciting. So that's very exciting. There should also be somewhere in the YouTube sphere, I have a couple other people kind of in the works, which should be launching in about 2 or 3 weeks as well. So hopefully you start seeing NEXUS all over your feed, dear viewer at home. And this is just one of many where you go, that game looks awesome. And then you go watch someone else play it and they're like, this game is awesome. And you're like, awesome. I'm going to go buy that.
That is the dream.
It is the dream. You know, I mean, I've talked with other publishers and people, and one of the big takeaways that I've gotten recently is it takes 5 or 6 interactions with you as a company, as a product, to actually cement in people's heads, just psychologically. Like the first 2 or 3 or even 4 times, people would just be like, what was that game? I don't know. It's like some sort of cyberpunky thing, and you were rolling dice. I don't know. It doesn't, and it just like out of their brain, like they eject it out of their brain. But it leaves some residue. And by the 5th or 6th time, there's enough residue where they're like, that's right. I did see Shut Up and Sat Down, sat about him. I saw Jeff. Jeff had that guy on. He was interviewing. He was awesome. Okay. And then I saw that TikTok. Okay. I should actually look into this. This is starting to be like a thing, you know? So that's where I'm at, basically. All of that to say, that is where I'm at. And hoping against hope, not against hope, hoping, knowing that it's going to be fine.
That is some pretty exciting stuff. I mean, getting on Shut Up and Sit Down is a pretty amazing thing. So congratulations on that.
Yeah. And it's as just an awesome feeling to be like, oh yeah, somebody. It's one of those things where you're like, you play a game that you designed with your friends, and your friends are like, this is great, we love this. And you're like, I know, I'm awesome. And then you go to like conventions with like nerds and stuff, and most of them are like, yeah, this is good, you know. And but like people at conventions, they're being nice, you know, for the most part. Every once in a while, you get someone who's like, this is dumb. And you're like, okay, I mean, we could be a little nicer, but it's always good to get honest feedback. I love honest feedback. But when it is like a company who does reviewing and stuff like that, like that's their job, is to be like, nah, there's no reason for them to be nice to me. You know, they don't have any skin in the game at all. They're not at a convention. They don't have to talk to me ever again. They could have literally never sent me an email back, and I would have been like, whatever. They had a lot of submissions. Who cares? So very excited about that. The other exciting thing is, I don't know how many people here are subscribed or read it. There is a physical magazine called Senet. It's an English publication all about board games. They only have a physical magazine because they believe like physical media, board games are physical media. A magazine about board games should also be physical media with beautiful paper and all of that. And I've been subscribed to them and get their magazine. It's a quarterly magazine for years and years and years, for 2 years now. And was literally sitting on my couch reading it 2 weeks ago, and was like, they always in the front have like a up and coming. Here's games that are going to be coming out in the next several months. You should check them out. Like, have like a little mini interview, maybe, 2 or 3 blurbs from the designer. And I was like literally sitting there and I was like, wait a second. I'm a designer who has a game coming out in a couple months. I should probably send them an email. Like sent them an email and they're like, yeah, sure, we'd love to have you.
Oh, that's great.
In the like the winter issue. I was like, I probably should have done that a couple months ago. It's all learning experience. We're all indie developers. It's all learning. We're like, oh yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
We get so caught up in the design side of things that sometimes we forget that, like, oh yeah, we actually have to sell this to people eventually. The
marketing part is definitely can be a challenge for some of us. All right. So Jake, I will, as you said, I will link the Kickstarter information in the show notes. And if there's any other links, just send them my way and I'll put them down there. Definitely looking forward to the Shut Up and Sit Down episode when it comes out.
Yeah, when that does come out, I'll send it to you in case this comes out after. You can put it in. Right. We'll get that all linked up. But awesome. Right. Was there any other questions? Did I hit everything?
I think you hit everything, and then a few things in addition, which is always good. Yes. So thank you for being on the show, Jake, and sharing NEXUS with us. And for everyone watching, thank you for watching. Keep an eye out for NEXUS and Arcology Directive Kickstarter, and definitely go and check it out and back it. Thank you all for watching, and do not forget to like and subscribe. And if you are an independent board or tabletop game designer, I will also have contact information for me in the show notes. Please do reach out. We have a Discord server where everyone who's on the show hangs out and we chat. So please, the more the merrier. Yep. And I
also have my own YouTube channel, Design in Progress, which we forgot to even talk about at all. So if you are a board or tabletop designer and you'd like to do some playtest swapping, I test your game, I'll give you feedback. You test either my game or somebody else's game. We give them or me feedback, and everyone has a good time. We're also a very small Discord, but I can send Jeff a link for that as well. You can come and hang out with us. Show us your board game. We'll tell you it's awesome or that it sucks, but we'll also tell you how to make it better too. So,
well, Jake, you don't need to send me a link because I'm in the Discord already and I was on your show.
Oh, that's true. You can just use. You're in there. You can link it yourself. I don't need to send that to you. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Jake.
As always, great to talk and chat.
Absolutely. And everyone have a great day.